happening? This is Jerry over at Wealth Dynamics. Hope you're having a terrific day today. Just wanted to give you a quick video on my way back from the gym. And I want to talk to you about some of the options that you can invest your sacred account into, okay? And when I say this, I mean when you put the money in the account, you're able to borrow against it. And when you borrow against it, you can pretty much do whatever you want with that money. There's no restriction. There are some principles you should follow, just like any bank would. But these are going to be some of the things that you could use as options to invest in. So the first thing is, your sacred account. When you put money into it, it will earn typically a 6 to 8% gross annual dividend. Historically, it's done that over and over. And that money is going to grow whether your funds are in your account or whether your funds are not in your account, meaning you could withdraw your money and still earn a 6 to 8% dividend on the money you just withdrew. Kind of a cool thing, right? Now, on the sacred account, basically what we're talking about today is when you withdraw that money, where do you put it? Okay, where do you put it once you withdraw it? Where do those funds go? And so there's a couple of places I like especially, and you have to kind of follow banking principles when you withdraw. So when you think about it, when you deposit your money into a bank, they now owe you that money. You can call it anytime you want to, but in the meantime, they're going to lend it out at a 10-to-1 ratio, right? So they're thinking about not appreciation or speculation. They're thinking about what I call spreads. Okay, spreads are the difference between what they're earning on the money and what they're paying you. Now, they're paying you very minimal. They're paying you like 0.10, right? But your sacred account, is paying 6 to 8%, so we're in that range. So when you borrow your money out of the account, there is a cost to borrow. Okay, when you borrow your money from your account, you're typically going to pay 5 to 6% simple interest only. That money can be deducted on your taxes if you do it the right way. And again, you still do earn your dividends, so it kind of outweighs or washes that interest that you are going to pay to borrow the money. Now, I would rather pay interest than taxes. I'm going to go ahead and just throw that out there. But when you borrow the money, let's say you're borrowing and it costs you 5% to borrow. When you invest, you're investing in something that no matter what is going to make more than 5%. Okay, so think about, like, you could borrow, you could do a real estate deal. Okay, you could do private lending. You could do a land lease. You could do owner financing on a property. You could start a business. You could loan to a business. You could do a merchant cash advance, where you loan money secured against a fixed revenue stream from a company. You can do all sorts of income producing things. Those are my favorite. So when I borrow, I only borrow for loans. Meaning if I'm going to borrow from my cash value, typically right now, all I'm doing with that money is I'm lending it to somebody else and I'm charging them higher interest than it cost me. It cost me 5. So my account is with Mass Mutual. It cost me 5% to borrow. So if I'm borrowing from my account, that means if I'm going to do a loan to somebody, I'm always going to charge more than 5%. And I like that position because it puts me in control. I control my rate. If I'm doing an equity deal, for example, which is why I don't necessarily love that right now, is the equity deal, it's not up to me on what I earn. It's up to what the property earns or the deal earns, and it's up to what percentage they're willing to share with me. So I might get, 60 or 70% of the upside, but what if the upside is only 8%? Then I've really got to think about, am I making more money? If I'm getting 60 to 70% of that upside, am I making it more money than I'm costing to borrow, and is it worth me doing? Now, if I'm lending, I can say, hey, based on your deal, I'm going to charge you 12% because I think it's risky. I don't like your collateral. Maybe you're new at this, and I will loan you the money to help you out, but I'm going to charge you, let's say, 12%. Now, if I'm paying 5 and charging 12, that means I'm making 7, plus I've still got my dividend of 6. Okay, so I'm actually earning 7 plus 6. That's 13%, minus my interest rate that I'm paying, right? So I'm making a 13% net rate of return on my money on this deal. So I like borrowing for that reason. Now, again, you're allowed to do anything. So the other thing I like doing is if somebody's not in a position to invest, I like using their sacred account to pay off their debt. So if they've got debt, what they would do is they would borrow from their account. When they've got enough money, they would borrow from their account to pay off their smallest debt balance. So let's say they've got a credit card for $1,000. Okay, they would pay off that $1,000 credit card, thus saving them the interest on the credit card and also freeing up the cash flow that used to go to that credit card. Now they're going to take that old credit card payment and now they're going to pay themselves back. They're going to pay back their sacred account. just like a bank would, right? They're going to pay themselves back. As soon as they've got enough money again to do it to the next one, they borrow against that as well. And then they pay off the next smallest debt. And they continue going until they're out of debt. They've got freed up cash flow. They can now increase their sacred account contribution, and they're able to invest in another deal that's actually maybe a cash flowing deal faster because they have less debt, more cash flow, and more money in their sacred account. Now, you can borrow for speculative stuff. I don't, but you can. So I've known people who have borrowed against their sacred account to buy gold and silver bullion at a very low price. And then when the market came back up, they sold it and then paid themselves back with the profits. You can do that. You also could invest in stocks and bonds if you wanted to. If you thought there was a stock that was going to go up and it was priced really low and you liked it and you decided, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of these, you can borrow from your sacred account for that. And again, when that stock appreciates and you finally sell it, you can take your capital gains, you can pay yourself back, and use that as kind of a reserve account for opportunities. You could do it with flipping if you wanted to. You could do it with really anything. But again, you know, if you're thinking about variables and constants, which is a big thing in math and it's a big thing in banking, the constant is the interest rate. So if you have to pay a constant interest rate of 5% to borrow, I would prefer for my earned interest to not be variable. I want to know for sure I'm always going to make the right spread on top of what it costs me to pay in interest. That way I always know I'm profitable. I don't ever want to doubt, okay, am I going to be profitable on this deal? Or am I going to be negative on this deal because I'm not earning enough interest to make this thing work? And you can make the sacred account wrong and say, well, if you didn't have to pay the interest, you know, you wouldn't have to worry about that. But the interest is actually an index or a measure of profitability. So if you're complaining about a deal not cash flowing enough and it costs you too much to borrow on your sacred account, what that really means is you invested in a poor deal. You invested in a deal that doesn't cash flow, it's not going to pay you enough money, and it doesn't really make sense whether you were in the sacred account or out of the sacred account. It's not even earning more than the interest rate would be. And the interest rate, by the way, is set on prime rate. And so if I'm paying 5, that's right around where prime rate is, which means if I do a deal that's less than 5%, I'm earning less than prime rate. And the only reason they're using my money is because I'm cheaper than the bank at that point. If they went to the bank would probably charge them prime plus a couple of points. And if I'm only making 3 or 4, that means that they know I'm cheaper than the bank. They want to borrow my money because they can't get money that cheap anywhere else. I'm actually the pawn in the game at this point. Okay, so if you're not earning more than prime, your deal kind of sucks. That's my opinion. You always want to earn more than your interest rate. You always want to make sure you pay it back. You always want to make sure that if you're borrowing for a fixed interest rate, you're also lending or investing for a fixed interest rate that's always going to be greater than that spread. So guys, I want to thank you for watching. If you were watching this today and everything clicked for you and it makes sense and you're interested in learning more about the sacred account, I want to make you a quick offer. Go ahead and take it up if you want to. If not, keep watching. I'll keep doing videos like this every day, as I always have. I love doing these. But if you are interested in the sacred account, I just posted a link in the comments. It's sacredaccount.com. I want you to click on that link, and that's going to direct you to the sacred account landing page. And that page is going to give you literally all of the information you need about the account. Okay, this is not some secret thing where you meet with an insurance agent and they sell you some account, you don't really know how it works, and then you find out later it was a terrible idea. Everything you need to know is right there on the website. And if after you get done with that website, you're like, man, there still are some questions, hop on a free call with us. Okay, my team is ready to go. We're happy to talk to you. We're happy to answer your questions. We don't want to pressure you into some sacred account that you're going to cancel or not understand or have a bad experience with. That doesn't help our business. So if you're interested in learning more, click on that link, sacredaccount.com. If not, just keep watching. I'll keep educating you and giving you the information. Thank you for watching. Make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you next time.